Hey everyone, I'm superphiz. I'm here with my good friend Ben Edgington. How are you, Ben?
Hey Fizz, I am very well, thank you. Beautiful sunny day here in England,
Ooh,
and
it's a
yeah,
sunny day here too. Oh, what time is it for you?
it is 5 p.m. in the afternoon.
Okay, and it's 11 p.m. for me here. It's June 20th, and we're about to talk about the newsletter that you put out June 17th. Um, how are you feeling about the newsletter? Is it I know a couple weeks ago you were like, I don't know if how long.
Yeah, I continually wrestle with, what does the future look like? Do I see myself doing this in a year's time, 2 years' time, 5 years' time, 1 month's time, and all of that? All I can commit to for now is, carrying on for a few more issues, and we'll see how it goes. It still does the job, which was its original intention, which was to keep me focused on Ethereum core dev stuff, so that I, for my personal benefit and my team's benefit, I know basically everything that I feel is important. I can't, it forces me to interact with it, listen to the podcast, read the documents, and find something sensible to write about. So in that sense, it's doing its job. People seem to continue to find value in it and appreciate it, which is great. A lovely byproduct as far as I'm concerned, and really appreciate that. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I've noticed this kind of thing. When it comes to public service, especially like unrewarded public service, like the personal benefit, the personal reward only goes so far. And then at some point you're like, why am I still doing this? But it is very valuable.
Appreciate it. Hey, before we get going, Fizz, I need to introduce you to my new friend. This is my Teku beer glass.
I saw that. I didn't understand. So
this is apparently the finest beer glass in the world.
Is it? I guess I'm curious. When I looked at it, it had the Ethereum logo in the name.
I know, so, it's crazy, isn't it?
I don't know which came first. That's what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, it's embossed on the base. It just says Teku, and it's got like the little E sign just to 3 bars for the E. Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, this glass has been around like 20 years or something, and it's I'm not drinking beer.
Wow,
it's the finest beer glass in the world. Teku 3.0.
That is, because I looked at that and I was like, which came first? I was racking my brain about it, like trying to make sense of it. Of course, I could have probably gone to the internet to find out, but
there we go. The internet, it knows all things.
Congratulations.
Don't believe really everything you read.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so what's new in Eth2, 17 June 2022? Great Glacier delaying the difficulty bomb is going to hit June 29th. I know you have thoughts about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's happening right now. I've written a little bit about it further down. So update your ETH1 nodes. Anyone running an Ethereum, well, there's still ETH1 nodes until the merge, at which point they become execution nodes. Anyone running an Ethereum client, you need to upgrade, because otherwise you'll be forked off the main chain. So it's only a tiny update. It just changes kind of one number in the code base and just pushes out the difficulty bomb for I think 100 days or so, which takes us, so we'll be in the same position at the end of September as we are today, with block times being about 14.5 seconds. So normally they're 13 seconds on mainnet. They average out to that. So they're 10% longer now than they would normally be. That's if we don't defuse a bomb, that will grow rapidly, and we'd be looking by the end of September at something like 30-second block times or something. So this just delays that process by 3.5 months and buys us a little more space before the network becomes too congested.
And thankfully, Geth is really easy to update in general. Most people will have installed it from the Ethereum PPA, which is simply a sudo apt dist upgrade Geth, and it pulls it down, which led me to like realizing I have this epiphany every like 6 months. Why aren't the consensus layer clients doing that? But that's another discussion.
Yeah, it's a good question. We can look into it. Yeah, it's just another thing, right? But
yeah.
If you want to raise an issue on the Teku repo and the other clients as well, I guess, make it so.
Yeah, I think I will do that today. Thanks for the encouragement. So Ropsten is merged.
Aye, yeah, that was a success. You were there, the longest ever wait, the longest ever song a day. That was going on forever. That cool. So the issue was that the idea was that because Ropsten hash rate is very unpredictable, normally it's very, very low, right? But you never know when somebody might step in and really ramp it up. So we saw that earlier on in it, and it rather disrupted things. So the idea was we put a rather high terminal total difficulty on, and the goal was that the Ethereum Foundation guys would load up with hash rate in the hours before the target time, and just kind of bring it in just by loading up the hash rate, accelerating this thing. And they, from what I understand, they put it on a too small a box, and it just kept, falling over in different ways. And so this hash rate was really intermittent and just wasn't doing the job. So yeah, we'd expected it around, I think 2 p.m. my time. And then it was looking like 3 p.m., then 4, and then it just kept going out. So yeah, but you filled the time, and it was fun to spend the afternoon with you guys.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. It is obviously a little stressful, trying to keep the energy up. But yeah, I'm so appreciative of Jonathan Mann and just everyone for kind of hanging out and enjoying the process, because that is the fun of it. That it's the fun of doing it together. So yeah, I had a blast.
Yeah, and we've got a few more to go of these get-togethers. So looking forward to it.
Can't wait. So Perry always has great summaries. I don't see Danny's linked here, but I was a big fan of Danny's big success tweet.
That's the one, just below. So we can look at that in a moment. That's the absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, great.
So Perry tells it how it is. There were some bumps on the way. We didn't, it was not a perfect, smooth sailing for everybody process, getting from proof of work to proof of stake. In particular, Nimbus team just had a typo on their command line, and 9% of the network was being run by them. And when the merge came, that they dropped off. So very easily rectified, quick restart of their nodes, and they were back.
Yeah, I love this.
The memes are good.
And I love Nimbus's ASCII art. I haven't seen it in production. I guess it went through on the testnet, but I will look forward to seeing that. I think there needs to be some kind of ASCII art competition now.
Yeah, we've got a few contenders for Teku. We need to take a look and choose one.
So yeah, always appreciate Perry's really thorough reflections on this. And it's hard to know. I say this during the call, but during the call, what we saw on the call was essentially a delay, and that's that can be frustrating, and people could interpret that as a problem. It really takes several hours afterward to know how successful or unsuccessful the event was.
Yeah, and this is one of the things I've tweeted about this in the past. What you want is a moment where you can just say, "Yay, it's done," and you can all start applauding and break out the champagne and all of that. And it's never like that. We've simulated that moment for some, publicity purposes. Like when we did the Amphora thing, there was a kind of point where somebody said, "Yeah, shall we all clap?" It's like, "Yeah, I think it's good. Let's do it." And I got the photo, and that was great. But it feels like a little bit of a letdown during the hour or so afterwards, because you're always just saying, "Has it worked? Has it not worked?
Yeah.
What are the problems? Why are we not seeing this, or why are we seeing that?" And
I think we have to acknowledge our emotional side, and people need that moment to say, "Yay, like we did it." Because if you don't have the ASCII art screen saying the merge has happened, you don't really, your body never really appreciates the transition. You end up a month later, did that really happen or not? I don't remember.
Yeah, and the banners will appear at the point when proof of work gets switched off. We don't really know that proof of stake is fully functioning for quite some time afterwards. I mean, at a minimum like 13 minutes when we get finalize that.
We'll
that
still
block.
celebrate.
But yeah. Come on.
All right, and this is a great tweet from Danny, calling it a major success. So
yeah, so I've seen all sorts of takes on this across Twitter, and I wanted to kind of call it out and say, look, it didn't go perfectly, but it went well enough. And Tim on his Bankless episode, which I've linked elsewhere, makes the point very well that the Ethereum network is designed to be resilient, right? People are out there saying, oh, it has to go perfectly. We've got to test this thing to death. It's got to be, until we've executed it absolutely perfectly n times, we can't do the merge. But actually, that's unrealistic. That's never, ever going to happen. We've got, thousands, if not tens of thousands of amateurs running this network, right? And they're going to mess things up, right? And, there are going to be nodes that don't make it, that aren't upgraded, that configured wrongly, that all over, all sorts of things are going to go wrong. But will we make it? Yeah, of course we will. It's designed to be resilient. The Ethereum network will survive 10%, 20%, 30% of the nodes offline with maybe some small degradation. We might miss some blocks or whatever, but it will keep on chugging. And I want to be kind of out of this mindset where it has to be absolutely perfect. Now, the protocol has to be perfect. The design has to be correct. We don't want any edge cases that can be attacked or hacked or put us into some weird loop that's irrecoverable. But when it comes to, did people configure their nodes correctly? We're robust.
The theatrical production doesn't have to be perfect. That's really what we're looking at, because that is, that is what the call is. That is the event, is the theatrical production of the merge, because we still have plenty of time afterwards to reboot nodes or to change parameters and get everything going perfectly. I think that you're kind of right. People are hung on this idea of the theatrical production being perfect, right, when it's really a sideshow. It's something that we want to celebrate together, but in the big scheme of Ethereum, it's not really that important. It's just a chance to be together.
Yeah, and as long as the chain keeps on chugging, even if it's mildly degraded for a couple of hours, this is fine. It's nothing's going to break. If it stops, the worst case is it stops, that we have some sort of fork and no blocks are produced or something like that. That is a bad situation, and DeFi stops. That's disaster. We're pretty confident that by this stage, the number of tests we've done and the number of dress rehearsals, that's not going to happen. So it was great.
So the bomb has been pushed back.
Yeah, so I mean, the big question is, what does this mean about when merge? I speculated, and I'm in conversations with various parties around the place. We're always talking about this one way or another. My best view on this is that we set this thing back to really start becoming a problem in mid to late September. We don't want to do it again. That would be a really bad signal. That would be troublesome. Everyone having to update their nodes twice to push back the bomb. So and that was agreed by all teams. This 700,000 blocks was agreed by all teams as we can realistically do the merge, subject to the caveats, no major disaster, blah blah. But on our current understanding, it's realistic to do the merge by mid-September, and there's been a commitment from all teams, execution and consensus teams, to that delay. So, it's not a schedule for the merge. Nobody has said we will merge mid-September, but the timing of the bomb delay is very suggestive and agreed by all teams, and there's buy-in and so on. So I'm bullish September at the latest.
Sure, yeah. That's I always celebrate this multi-implementation architecture, but it does end up becoming herding cats, and
yep.
it is. I don't know. I guess you have to accept those inherent slowdowns or the difficulty in working together when you have decentralization. So I guess maybe that's a great thing. Maybe it's a good thing that we're seeing people pushing and pulling in different directions, because that's actual evidence of decentralization. If everyone wanted the same thing all the time, then we probably wouldn't really be decentralized.
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, having so many people involved is yeah, a lot of eyes on this and a lot of different approaches. It really does test things well. There's a danger that we just move at the speed of the slowest, and at some point we need to say, okay, enough is enough. You know, the slowest, yeah, you catch up later.
Yeah.
We're doing this without you. And that's what slightly worries me about not setting a time, is we haven't set ourselves a criterion by which we say, okay, this far and no more, you know, you're in and you're out. And, you know, I had a sort of Twitter discussion with Tim Baker on this, and I'm more in favor of, I think we should set a date. We should say by X date, we will have done the merge, barring, you know, really unforeseen circumstances. You know, every program I've ever managed in the old world, we did to a timetable. It's just normal project management. You do it to a timetable. But there we go. It's happening.
So much of the consternation I've heard is, at least, you know, on the end user side, is you know, we still don't have execution client diversity, and why don't we have that yet? And from my perspective, for better or worse, I'm not quite ready to promote all 4 of the execution clients. And I also don't think that it's wise to wait until they're all ready, because that could be a year, that could be many years. It may never happen. And so I do agree with you that the best thing we can do now is set a target and move toward it carefully. But
yeah, and you know, this time I've been heartily encouraged by the growth in diversity of consensus clients. So yeah, where there's a will, there's a way. It'll come.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree with that. Sepolia, let's move forward.
Yeah. So Sepolia is one of the existing Ethereum testnets. It's a proof of work testnet. I don't know much about it. It's not hugely used, but we're taking the existing Ethereum testnets and merging them as dress rehearsals for the main event. So in order to do this, we need to set up a beacon chain to merge it with. So that beacon chain went live a couple of hours ago and seems to be running fine. You know, we know how to do this now. It's straightforward. And the goal is, I think, to do the merge on the 29th for Sepolia. Target it roughly for that, which is next Wednesday. So yeah, are we doing another get together for that?
Yeah, we are actually. So we were kind of stalling. I hadn't heard the date. I did miss the last implementers call. So I hadn't heard 29th of June yet until I read your newsletter. But Anthony Cesano from the Daily Gwei is going to be the primary host, and Eastacre is going to support him. And obviously we're going to invite all of the same people. And I think there's a fair chance he'll get lucky and not have to stall for 5 hours. But it should be a ton of fun.
Yeah, excellent. I'll join if I can. Yeah, that would be great.
Can't wait. So let's see. I was thinking, you know, there's a part of me that wanted to ask to be a Sepolia validator. Then I'm like, do I really need more responsibility? Nah.
Yeah.
Mainnet Shadow Fork 7 TTD on Wednesday, the 22nd.
Yeah, these are happening. So this is where we take the current state of mainnet, we put some Ethereum 1 nodes which are merge ready, sync them up with mainnet, and we set a terminal total difficulty, and they just fork off onto a specially built beacon chain and become proof of stake. So we've got the whole state of mainnet, you know, absolutely everything that's out there, and we relay the transactions across as well. So it is doing the merge. It is actually doing the merge. We could just say, you know, 20 minutes later, okay, that's now the merge mainnet. I mean, you know, it could be like that, but
really,
well, not really, because
obviously, yeah. Well, I mean, yes, I know.
all the values on the beacon, all the values on the beacon chain of the staking. So we'd have to do some kind of funkiness to move it over. But Yeah, it is absolutely the full mechanic of the merge with the full state and everything. So and number 7 is coming. Numbers 4, 5, 6 went pretty well. We're getting that.
Great. Very excited to watch it. So I've been a big fan of the merge readiness checklist. It's apparently, I was thinking of actually I was thinking of the merge this is it. The last time I looked at this, it was a GitHub or
yeah, that's right. It's being published.
Okay.
It's being published now. So this is live on the Ethereum Launchpad and is good. Yep. It's just the main things you need to check. So what have we got? Runner, both clients. So anyone running an Ethereum node today, whether you're a staker, you need to run your own execution node. You know, you might be using Infura as I am, so I need to spin up my own local ETH1 node. Or if you, conversely, if you're running, you know, for whatever reason, for your DApp or for your, you know, just your own reasons, an ETH1 node, you will also need a beacon node in order to be able to sync the network, not with validators, but just run a beacon node. So everybody will need to run both of these because they're kind of glued together post-merge. Now, I'm just going to have a little rant here. So this is often a digression that I really deplore this appearance of the word layer everywhere. This has become kind of the vernacular now. We talk about execution layer client. No, it's an execution client. Consensus layer client. No, it's a consensus client. Can we just? I
get that.
Skip the layer bit. It really.
That's interesting. Yeah. It's funny. I had never really thought about it, and now that you say it, I'm like, oh, that makes obvious sense once you process it for a moment.
Yeah, it's just one of those little bees in my bonnet.
I don't know if I'm just inclined to agree with things you say, but I'm like, yeah, that makes really good sense. Say something I don't agree with just as a test, and I'll be like, Ben, you're full of crap.
Well, we'll get to that.
The engine API.
The authenticate is the point, the main point here. So you've got your ETH1 node, you got your ETH2 node, or you got your execution client, your consensus client, and you point them at each other. Well, basically, you point the consensus client at the execution client, but you also need to secure that connection. So that this is a new process. In the old style, you point your consensus node at your ETH1 client. That connection's unsecured. You're just kind of reading state from the execution client, so it doesn't need any security. In this one, you're actually sending things to the execution client. You have control over it, so it needs to be an authenticated connection. And we're using this JWT mechanism. So you need to generate a random token and feed it to both clients so that they can talk to each other. So a little tricky. I bet a lot of people are going to get this wrong, and this may be one of the major causes for drop off when the merge happens. However, the clients should, as soon as Bellatrix is done, that it should start, which is the fork before the merge on the consensus side. The two clients should try talking to each other, and if they're misconfigured, then you should get some loud warnings in the logs. So it should tell you if it's well configured or misconfigured.
That's great. I ought to confess that I haven't played with this yet. I've been aware for a long time that it's coming, but I haven't played with it in my server.
Yeah, so you can check it out on the testnet. It's on mainnet for now. Beacon chain mainnet, it's not useful, but okay. Yeah, on the testnets, it's you can try it out.
Oh, great. So it won't really be active on mainnet until after Bellatrix. Is that
right? Correct. Okay. Yeah. That's when the engine API kind of goes live, which is the way that the consensus and execution clients speak to each other.
Got it.
And then, this one's really, really important. Set fee recipient. Now, the network's not at risk if you don't set your fee recipient, so everything will keep going. Only by default, any transaction fees you earn, which is the miner tips, will just get sent to a burn address unless you set this, in which case you will. So post-merge, you've got two sources of income, or maybe three. We'll come to that. You've got your block rewards as currently, for producing blocks on the beacon chain, which go into your validator balance on the beacon chain. And you have, in addition, minor tips, so transaction fees from Ethereum transactions, which go to a normal Ethereum address and are immediately available to you. So you need to tell your validator client and your beacon node what your fee recipient address is, where you want those tips to go. So it's like the Coinbase in a block. If you're a miner, you set a Coinbase, which is where your block reward goes to. It's basically the same thing.
And I definitely took a few hours to set up my fee recipient. Even if I miss JWT, I wouldn't miss fee recipient.
yeah, this is definitely an important one. So there you go. When merge.
Cool. That's actually I'm glad we shared that and went over it, because this is something I'll definitely want to promote quite a bit. It's probably one of the most valuable things for home stakers to be aware of right now.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Mika Labs report, pretty impressive, but I saw the exact same thing that you saw, the focus on sync times, and definitely a worthwhile read. I definitely got a lot out of it, but yeah, go ahead. What do you think?
Yeah, so they've done good work. I mean, I know these guys. Barcelona Supercomputer Center, Leo has been around forever in the Ethereum community, and you know, they've spent a lot of time and been very careful in their measuring and analysis and the situations they've set up. And you know, before the report, we were in constant dialogue, you know, making sure that they were testing correctly and so on. So they've taken a very responsible approach to this. So the data is good. And you know, the conclusion is that all the clients have their strengths and weaknesses. They're all basically good. And you know, you can't really go wrong. There's some useful data, some feedback for client teams coming out of it. In the written report, they focus almost exclusively on sync times. So that's when you start a node with a blank database. It goes back to Genesis. It starts loading blocks and recreating the state and syncing up. And this on mainnet, this takes beacon chain mainnet. This takes a few days currently. And they measure CPU usage, memory usage, bandwidth usage, and so on in that situation. And my problem with that is that clients basically spend nearly all of their lives not syncing, right? They're not measuring the right thing. My own node has spent maybe, I don't know, 5 minutes syncing in the last year and a half, just when I upgrade it and restart it. You know, it's just got to sync up a few blocks. It spent, you know, a year and a half minus 5 minutes not doing what they've tested. And you know, there are ways to optimize sync, which we don't do in Teku. Some clients do, you know, you can, but we see it as pointless, you know, to spend time doing that. We've spent the time rather eliminating the sync completely, start from a checkpoint state, and, you know, you're up and running in 2 minutes without having to do the whole sync process. So to be fair, they have measured some other stuff. They haven't really included it in the report. The plots, the graphs that they produce under Eth2 client plots there contain a lot more broader data about some tests that they've done. So if you're interested in this stuff, there's some good things to explore there.
Yeah, it makes me think of Jim McDonald's work. Like, I love how, or well, I guess I should refer to them as a testant. Both Attestant and Mega Labs do these really deep dives into chain metrics, and I just love the academic nature and like the quality of their research. It's fun to read.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and what I was going to mention, what Attestant have done is kind of looked at the problem from a different angle, which is the reward earning capability of the clients. And so they've done a lot of comparative studies between who builds the most valuable blocks, who has the most reliable attestations, and so on. And Jim's talk from Dev Connect at the Staker event was super. Mm-hmm. And again, his conclusion is all clients have their strengths and weaknesses. You can't really miss out, especially if you run Vouch, which is a client kind of multiplexer.
You know, we should take a moment while we're there. Jim McDonald works with Attestant, and they develop a product called Vouch that essentially allows you to run all of the beacon chain clients on one server, assuming, or well, multiple, I guess, if you have that hardware configuration. And it reads the data from each of those to choose the best submission for the network. And so using Vouch, while it does have a higher hardware requirement, it will always give you the best network input that you could provide. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if people will run it as a kind of in a home staking setup. I mean, if you want to throw hardware at it, you can. You're basically running multiple beacon nodes. Yeah, so more demanding, but if you want that extra, 0.1 or 0.01% increase in reward, then might be worth doing.
I like to think of it, and I know I'm an oddball. For me, the reward is being highly engaged with the chain. It's not right. It's not necessarily like I'm getting a millionth higher of an ETH reward. It is just being that much more intimate with chain operations. Like I'm doing better.
You are a good citizen, Fizz.
I'm a strange dude. Congrats to Wagyu.
Yeah, tell me about this. I'm sure you're more familiar than I am on this one.
So they have been working on Wagyu primarily from my view is Remy and Buddha, and I'm sure there are others involved. But Stakehouse is an initiative that was born out of ETHStaker, and they develop. So they're essentially the developer arm of ETHStaker. They create tools to make staking more accessible, whereas ETHStaker provides education to make staking more accessible. And so the Wagyu installer is a native GUI installer manager for staking, and they've been extremely careful and cautious about incremental development, not over promising. And I'm really proud that they are that they're getting it delivered.
Yeah, I've seen it sort of being developed over the last year or so, and it's terrific.
Yeah, I really ought to test it more. And I know we'll get some more videos about it, but I'm really proud that they are, ETHStaker is primarily education focused, but to really produce tools is really, it's a great way to give back to the community. So I'm really happy about that. MEV-boost. I didn't really highlight anything here because, I have not been that engaged with MEV.
Yep. It's coming, dude.
Yeah.
If there's one thing to read or to watch in that section, I would pick up the video preview of MEV and MEV-boost for validators from Remy, Yorick, and Ladislaus. That is excellent. It's kind of informal, and they just talk through the whole picture and then do a demo of what it looks like to run a node with the MEV-boost sidecar. And yeah, that's just quality. Gives a really nice intro and doesn't gloss over the difficult stuff. Goes into it, but gently. Yeah, liked it a lot.
That's great. And I'll tell you, from ETHStaker, both Remy and York are our, and Buddha also are kind of MEV experts. And I have sort of just, I've turned a blind eye to it, I guess. Like I haven't really
You're
engaged.
in denial. You're in denial.
I am. I don't know, for right or wrong. All right. I think this guy somehow. Adrian Sutton, heard of him?
Yeah, he's a good dude. Yeah. So yeah, just going back to what we talked about earlier about not spending time on syncing from Genesis. So Adrian gave, so Ethereum engineering groups run by Peter Robinson, who's one of my colleagues in Consensus Protocols, has been for years, and he's in Brisbane, Australia. So he runs a group and has technical talks on things. There's Adrian top left there, Peter's top right, and some other familiar faces. So we put into Teku this checkpoint sync, I don't know, a year and a half ago. We sort of pioneered it, others have picked it up. And the point is to sync in proof of stake, to sync safely from Genesis, you need to know a checkpoint on the right chain to make sure that when you've synced up, you've ended up on the right chain and not been diverted onto a fake chain that somebody has done a time bandit attack on, I forget what it's called, long range attack, that's the official name, gone back in time and built an alternative chain based on keys that they've stolen or bought from somebody. So if you need to know, so, you know, one issue is you could sync up and find, oops, I'm on the wrong chain. And then what do? You have to go back to the start and kind of hope that you get a better set of peers and end up on the right chain. You know, that's a problem. And the other issue is, yeah, if you got this checkpoint of the, which is the state hash, the state root hash, well, you might as well just use a whole state and just sync from that point onwards. Why even bother going back to the beginning? You're trusting this digesters, they just use the whole state, start from there and forget about the sync. And so that's the premise of it. So the trust model is unchanged by checkpoint sync compared to normal proof of stake trust model. So Adrian talks about that more authoritatively than I do. So
I love seeing somebody that has a passion for something, and I see that he's passionate about this, and you know, you want to see someone who has this passion, like keep working toward it and then slowly turn the tide until everyone gets it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think his passion is kind of a reaction against the under proof of work. The only safe thing to do is to sync from Genesis, right? Yeah. That's the gold standard, and find the heaviest chain. But that doesn't work under proof of stake. And so people keep throwing at us this, oh, you're not syncing from Genesis thing. Yeah. But you know, that's an error, as a category error. So people, yeah.
I'll be honest, I didn't really fully accept the connection until his DevConnect call. Was it Dev? Yeah. I'm sorry, his DevConnect talk. And then I was like, oh, well, now that really makes great sense. So yep. I appreciate his work.
This is a reprise of the DevConnect talk. So if you've seen that, you don't need to see this.
Okay. Tim on Bankless.
Yeah, 100% Tim, very Tim, just great. I love it.
Yeah,
I miss working every day with Tim. He's fantastic.
Yeah, I really like the guy. Let's see.
Tell me about your Bankless experience. My terrible confession, I haven't heard it yet. I prioritized Tim over you. Forgive me. No, I'll get to it in the next day or two.
No, I don't. Like, it is really just, you know, I some of my friends are like, you know, how did you feel about your talk? And I listen to other speakers and they use you know, complex ideas and rich vocabulary, and my talk is essentially, hold on, the big guy's coming. We can play in the bonus room. My talk is essentially like why decentralization is important, why I fight for decentralization. And, you know, I even felt like I repeated myself several times, and, you know, it was good. It was a good opportunity to get those thoughts out there, and I really hope they're beneficial to people. I really want people to value decentralization, but I also know, you know, a lot of folks already get it, and that's okay with me. Like, you get it. You're not going to have any epiphany listening to me talk about decentralization.
Well, Bankless reaches a wide audience, right? And yeah, I've really come to appreciate them over the last couple of years when I've been listening to podcasts more. Great, look forward to it. Needs saying. Yeah, needs saying and repeating.
Yeah. Yeah, I love to talk about those concepts. I know that it's not new for most of us. I love ECH, their Peep and Eep series. Do you want to?
Not much to say on these. I mean, the Peep and Eep sessions are a goldmine, and they just come up frequently. They're doing Pooja is doing like 1 or 2 a week sometimes, and they're not sort of broadly advertised. And so I look at some of them and they've got like 50 or 100 views, and I think this is tragic. I mean, they are. So I always try to include them because they cover a huge range of what's happening in Ethereum generally around EIPs and stuff that's coming down the pipe. And have, you know, quality speakers on them, that, you know, the people actually doing the work, unlike me. And it's terrific. So really, if you want to dig into, really go one level deeper into Ethereum stuff, then engage with these Peep and Eep series. So the Cat Herders channels are linked to the playlist there.
And it is the opposite of fluff. It is like pure mainline information. So it's pretty cool.
Yep. Yeah, totally. Then ETH Prague looked like a lot of fun. I didn't make it there.
I haven't watched these, but
worth a look. They're good 20 or 30-minute talks. Peter's one at the top is not, particularly about proof of stake or future of big ideas about the future of Ethereum, but he does explain. And coming back to your decentralization point, we can crank up the transactions per second in Ethereum. We can quote scale if we want, but there are trade-offs to be made, and he explores those trade-offs and what they are. We cap the TPS to remain.
There's the other layer one chain that like takes us to the other extreme, and totally has cranked up transactions at the expense of extremely heavy hardware. There's evidence they have trouble even keeping uptime. So
well, I can think of more than one that fits that category.
That's why I don't say any names.
but exactly, and where do we draw the line? Well, it is decentralization is making it and you kind of have to define these terms, and all this, right? But it's making it easy for anybody to spin up a node, or as easy as possible, the broadest possible participation in the network.
I think that's where we'll win, if by just increasing access. I haven't seen this Twitter. I don't even recognize it.
No. It just came up on my radar and seemed to be saying sensible things about how rewards work post-merge, and income, the different income streams that validators will have. Seem to be information rich, so put it in there.
It's funny, and I'm not even sure if I should bring this up, but it's like a sexualized PFP, and then like really deep, thoughtful information. It's kind of a contrast.
Cognitive dissonance.
Let's see. All core devs. So we just sort of talked about that. Very eventful. Two things that got.
Tim described it as very eventful. I can think like EIP 999 when we had the parity funds recovery. That was a bit more eventful. There's been plenty of drama over the years, and I don't think this was particularly dramatic. So I'm not quite sure why he felt that.
I'll tell you, I blocked out. I was like, honey, I'm going to be, locked in my room, 5 hours. I can't do anything else. I really expected to walk out of that call with a merge date, but that was obviously characteristically overly optimistic of his. So
I have an issue on the all core devs calls that I get. I don't speak very often. Over the last 6 years, I've maybe spoken 4 times at all core devs calls, and every time I've got hopelessly tongue-tied, which is not like me at all. I'm usually reasonably fluent, and I just say the most stupid things, and it just all comes out wrong, and I just feel like a total idiot on these things. And it's not all these are people I know, and they're people I speak to every week. I'm not intimidated particularly by them or anything. There's something about the sense of occasion of being speaking on an all core devs call that just throws me for a loop, and I sort of blether like an idiot. So.
Very interesting. I guess I've heard you speak more on the implementers call, so I don't. It's hard in my mind to shift the. I guess I would say they all blend together in my mind. So, Danksharding. You have your own section for Danksharding now.
Well, we had a breakout room meeting, so this is in the regular calls thing. So this will be a regular thing, maybe once a month. And it was flagged up at the consensus layer call. So 4844 is the proto Danksharding. So it's not the full thing. It's what we might put into the fork immediately after the merge, or upgrade, I should say, which basically increases block sizes, but makes a big portion of the block space data which is not available to the EVM. So there's no guarantee about storing that data forever. We might store it for a month or a year or something, but it's bounded. And you can use that data for roll-ups, and you can prove things about it to the EVM using KZG commitments and so on and so on. So all a bit technical, but if we want to get this into the upgrade after the merge and not delay withdrawals. So currently the upgrade, post-merge upgrade, is some tidying up, withdrawals, and proto Danksharding, EIP 4844 are the main candidates for inclusion. But clearly withdrawals are sort of systemically important at this stage. If we don't want to delay withdrawals, we need to get moving on 4844 ASAP, because it is complex and it's a big quite a big re-engineering of stuff in protocol. I'm tempted to sort of pitch for, split it into, do a quick withdrawals upgrade, maybe 4 months post merge, and then maybe 8 months afterwards do this. But we're not talking about that now. That's me. That's not
Sir, let's view that in the scope of Ethereum time.
It's practically instant, isn't it? I mean, it's like
and so I have to acknowledge a lot of this is still over my head, but what I do think is a great resource for most people is going to be that John from Delphi Digital talk on Bankless, because he gives an overview of this that was far more consumable for me.
Yeah, totally. So I think I linked to that in last issue or the one before that. So if you go back a couple of weeks in what's new in Eth2, you can find the links to that. Yeah.
Lido's Digest, Ethereum's 9th episode, and
Gnosis beacon chain is really interesting. So they used to be called XDAI. All my POAPs, or most of my POAPs, are on XDAI, so I hope they don't mess this up. They are planning to do the merge. So there's a beacon chain and there's the the Gnosis network. I forget what they call it, but basically the formerly XDAI, and they're planning to do the merge on those two ahead of Ethereum mainnet's merge. Slightly more challenging. They have some oddities like a 5-second block time on the beacon chain, which is a bit challenging, and some other bits and pieces. But Teku acts as a validating node for that.
Is it Teku and Lighthouse? Are those the two?
Yeah, I think that's right. Prism is work in progress. Prism got a grant from Lido to do that.
I have some interest, not technical interest, but just funsy interest in running one of those validators. It looks like I believe it requires 32 Gnosis coins, and that's about $3,700 right now. Just something fun to do, maybe.
They're using MGNO, which is at a million Gnosis. So I don't know. I haven't paid a lot of attention to the details.
I believe MNO is wrapped Gnosis, which is essentially would be the same price as Gnosis. I believe
that makes sense.
I'm not too deep into it. Just a fun thing.
You can earn rewards. Yep.
Well,
there we go. It's a wrap.
That was fun. Yeah. Good talking to you. I'm going to shut off the recording, and thanks for everybody for joining us. We'll see you again in a couple weeks.
Yes, sir. Look forward to it, everybody.